on, guys? I've got a quick trade recap for you on Lucid Groups, Lucid Motors, ticker LCID. And I think what I want to actually talk about is an important lesson that used to get me all the time, and I'm going to share this with you guys in a few minutes. And I'll tell you why when we get into it, and hopefully you'll find it informative and make some a point to learn this lesson, because I used to do this all the time and it used to drive me crazy. So anyways, before I jump into that, let's take a look at the daily chart, which is what we are looking at here. Each one of these candles represents a single day of price trading action. LCID has had a hell of a move since it's the 1st of September, since this gap down here. We moved up and filled this $20 gap, and there was a battle there for a little while, and I wasn't quite sure if it was actually going to pull it off. And as things started to progress and the company started to develop some new news drops, things started to get a little bit more exciting. I think they had a couple Twitter posts where they're showing pictures of their car in a showroom, so that got people excited. And then they started talking about delivery dates, I think coming up for October. This morning's gap up, I think, was based off of an offering. What was it? A plan to offer up to 85.8 million shares. So nothing's been formally announced. There's been no filings made, but there's been chatter of it. And the reason this thing, I think, finished red for the day was because of the CEO on Bloomberg. We'll jump into that when I get into the intraday chart, and we'll look at when and why that happened. And in the meantime, let's look at the daily chart here and a couple of key indicators that are showing continuous bullish momentum as things start to move up to this upside, as this $30 level, which I think a lot of guys and girls have their eyes on, and with due reason. This is a very important level to breach. When I zoom out here, you'll see why. But let's take a look at some actual indicators and why those indicators are important levels. From a larger picture, if we're looking at this thing, this $26 level was important in the short term past, and also back a few months ago, and then into March. So $26 today was an important level for me to look at, because that was where we opened the previous day. We closed around there the day before that, and then it was an area of resistance. So we were over it, then we were under it, and then this morning we gapped up over it. So when I look at gap ups, I want to see the previous day's higher close act as an area of support. So in this case, that's that high area. That's not where it closed. Obviously, we closed down here into this EMA 8 support line, but this area nonetheless is an area of importance to me. And we'll see in the intraday chart when I flip over to that 3-minute chart what that looked like this morning. But let's talk about, so that's support. So let's talk about areas of resistance. $27.50, $27.55 is this line that I have drawn here. And with due reason, obviously looking at it, it was an area of resistance here, it was resistance here, it was resistance here. It was resistance back in late July, mid-July, early July, late June. So this level has been an area that I think a lot of people have been watching, and it's kind of a round number area, that 2750 area. So that being said, that was a profit target area for me today, and you'll see on the chart why it was from an intraday perspective. And then the next level up is this $29 level, and obviously we're seeing an area of resistance here, an area of resistance here, an area of resistance here, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about resistance areas, to me, as a day trader, where I'm not investing in the stock and I'm not swing trading the stock per se at this point in time, just based on the price action from a daily perspective, resistance levels are areas of profit taking for me. I'm not going to try and hold through those levels. I'm going to take profit at or around those levels, sometimes in front of them, sometimes slightly over them. It really depends on the micro when I'm looking at the level 2 and the time in sales, and what the buying pressure looks like when we get to those levels. If it starts to weaken up and I can see that there's big walls of sellers putting out bids, I'll probably wind up taking profit a few pennies short of that area. Or if the buying momentum, like you'll see on the chart in a second, comes in and it's strong, we push through those levels, I'll probably take profit just over those levels. Really important when you get into these situations with this stock was really churning this morning, it was really moving. We want to get those sell orders out there. There wasn't obviously a big spread going on or anything, it was a really tight spread, but you don't want to hesitate. You don't want to think too hard about it. Just like if you set those sell orders and just put them out there and then they get filled, that's the idea. We don't want to scramble last minute try and fill those orders. I don't know. Some of you guys might be trading without actual like quick key commands and stuff like that, or like quick in and out buttons. And if you're trading like that, you're gonna miss opportunities. So preset your sells ahead of time. It's so much easier. Anyways, let's jump into the intraday chart and let's take a look at the pre-market data. What was going on this morning? So let me just scroll over here. So 26, that's what I was looking for, $26 level. And in pre-market, as we got closer to that 9:30 bell, there it was. It was showing its face as a level of support. This line here shows where the morning opening candle was, just down here. So like 25.87 was the low of this opening candle, and bang, perfect support. So that area I knew was going to be an area, looking as we started to make our move off the morning bell, that I really wanted to obviously keep in mind. And the intention was, if I do get long in above this level, my stop loss will be below it. And I actually set my stop loss a few, like 25 cents below. 25.75 I think was my area. I wanted to give it a little breathing room if we did come back down to test it. So that being said, let's take a look at the actual chart without the pre-market data. The reason I do that is because I like to allow my aggregations for my VWAP and my EMA8 to happen at the bell. I don't want them to pull in that pre-market data. Some platforms don't do that. This one does. So obviously I want to keep that data out because the volume itself in the pre-market is so light. I don't trust it. So that being said, off the bell, we got this pullback in to test that 26 level. We tested it 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and we bounced off it 3 times. So that's the first 9 minutes of trading. Usually I like to give it about 10, 15, 20 minutes, but in this case the momentum was so strong, the buying volume was so strong, the selling pressure wasn't even selling pressure, I think it was just profit taking, was so light comparatively that it just obviously made sense to get in here as soon as we were holding above VWAP, which is where I took my entry at 20. I got a full size entry at 26.75 on this red candle, on this pullback. And maybe what I'll do is just make this a green line so you can see it across the level. 26.75 right there. I'll make that green. So that's my entry. Stop loss 25.75 below this 26 support. As the VWAP started to hold, as we came in and tested it, it just confirmed for me that things were looking good and quite bullish to the upside. And right before I took my entry, I did pull out my Fibonacci retracements just to kind of get some confirmation, see if excuse me, see if that 23.6 level did line up with any other key support or key support areas like the VWAP, which it did as we broke through. So that was looking good. As the stock starts to move itself up, I pull out my Fibonacci's. What do we start to notice? Here's where, again, confirmation comes in that we're in a really good bullish momentum. Is obviously, I love the angle of this EMA. This is going up at a 45-degree angle. The 23.6 Fibonacci level, which is right here below my entry at 26.68, 26.66, lines up perfectly with VWAP and the trade line. So we have 3 bullish momentum indicators, bullish indicators that things from a technical perspective are looking very good. So that just confirms my entry. And as things start to progress and move up, I'm not necessarily moving my stop loss area until I take my first profit, but I really didn't feel like I was going to have to worry about it at all in this case. And looking at the level 2 and reading that level 2, as I was talking about when we were looking at that daily chart, as we started to approach this resistance level at 27.55, the volume was nice and strong, as you can see down here. This is nice strong volume, and we just blasted right through that level on that 3-minute candle. And I was reading that level 2, and it just went right through it, and I felt like I can squeeze a little bit more out of it. So I put a sell order out at 27.85, and that was my first fill on this red candle here. And as you can see, was stronger on the profit target, or on the profit taking. There wasn't looking at the candle itself, it's kind of an indecision candle, but it didn't look like it was a bearish candle. And so I felt really good about that profit target. And on this one, I took 50% off on that profit take. And the reason I did 50 is just based off of the market conditions we're in right now. Just haven't seen a ton of follow through in a lot of stocks. CEI is one that's just been absolutely tearing it up, and there's been a couple other ones. GoGo was another one yesterday. There's been a few, but in overall, my sentiment is still on the weaker side, and I like to just take off a chunk off the get-go and lock it in and reduce my risk to the downside. That is really what this game is. As building my account to a larger size, the goal is to just lock in the profits and just take what the market gives me, not push. In my mind this morning, the plan was to get to 29. I really wanted to see 29.30. And I felt like it was possible. I was like looking at this volume comparatively to the day before and even the day before that. So much bigger, so much larger, just so like overall just was great. And yeah, I just didn't anticipate getting such a nasty pullback, but the markets just weren't behaving with us. They weren't working in our favor. So again, this is another reason to lock in more profit and not risk that downside move. If I was a day trader, and I'd have gotten long on this thing, I'm going to zoom back in a little bit here. If I was a day trader, got long at 26.75 and didn't want to take any profit till we hit 29 bucks, I would have missed everything. I would have turned this what could have been a winning trade right here and got my little 5-6% squeeze out of this thing into a losing trade by holding back down below my entry. Who wants to do that? I don't. I've been there. I've done that so many times. I've missed out on opportunities and it doesn't feel good. And I think what that does from a psychological level is it affects you for that trading day, the day you're in, and then the days to come ahead where you're thinking about this trade, maybe the following trading day where you wake up and it's the first thing you think about. Oh, I should have taken profit and I missed that opportunity. Kicking yourself for it. So don't do that to yourselves, guys. Just take some profit off. The way I've learned to trade, and I'm going to throw up an affiliate link for my trading group that I'm with because these guys are phenomenal, is just a tier trading system that really helps lock in profits, reduce your risk. It works so well. And I've learned so much by learning how to trade this way, and amongst many other things and many other tools, this trading group is unlike any other trading group I've ever been with before. It's improved my trading tenfold. So just that's a quick little plug for them, and I'll throw a link in my description below where you can click and check out their website. And if you're potentially interested in joining them, you'll get a discounted code with the affiliate link that I'll post as well. So at this point, I've taken another 25% off. Sorry, I'm planning to take another 25% off. Haven't gotten there yet. We got to this resistance level at 27.80, and things started to kind of turn a little bit, and I didn't see more bullish momentum coming in on the buying front. So I put an order out at 27.10, so just in front of this candle here, looking for a fill, and I got filled on that as well, just in front of the high of that candle. And so now at this point, I'm down to my last 25%. So at this point, I'm looking for support into VWAP, which we didn't really get. We kind of got a bounce off it, but it was a weak bounce, and the selling pressure was still a little strong on this candle. So in my mind, if you'd seen my previous trade recap rather, on RWLK, I believe it was, I had held my last 25% of that trade to my entry. And I missed out on just locking in a little bit more gain, and that last piece, it was a break even, and I felt like I could see that happening again today, and I just didn't want to allow that to happen. So what I did was I put a hard stop. So meaning a hard stop meaning I'm not using mental stops where I'm going to stop myself out with the click of a button. I'm going to put a hard stop in at 27.20, just below these candles here, just below the low of this red candle. And the reason I did that is because just to ensure to lock in the last little bit. If this thing bounces off 26, I could always take another entry on it and retrade it. I typically don't like to do that, but that's always an option. You could always get back in. So you might as well just lock in what you've got and look for another entry. So wouldn't you know it, right at just before 11, the CEO for Lucid is on the Bloomberg News talking about a cash raise, talking about potential offering. And that's when this red candle happened right here. And that is some really, really, really heavy selling pressure. and that's the highest selling pressure I think this thing has seen since early September when it gapped down. And I think a lot of people got shook out on this candle. Obviously, I got triggered on my stop loss on this candle, but with good reason. Like, who wants to stay in this thing at this point? From a day trade perspective, you're just looking for a quick trade on this, not looking to invest or swing trade this. If you're swing trading it, you have a totally different strategy. Your stop loss is going to be probably down at like $24, $24.50. That just wasn't my strategy for this trade today. And the key is, and just another lesson to add to this recap is, don't let a day trade turn into a swing trade unless there was an intention for that to happen in the first place. If this stock held above VWAP for the lunch session and consolidated, and then maybe we got a retest here. Maybe it was a failed retest, but we put in a higher low, and then we got another retest, but we broke through on some increase in volume like we saw this morning. Like here, that would be a totally different story. That is an applicable time to maybe swing that last 25% of your position if you were day trading it, and it finished strong and above VWAP. But that wasn't the case here. This is bearish. This is a bearish heartbeat to this stock at this point in time. So this volume candle kind of supersedes everything in my opinion. We did obviously bounce down to that $26 level, as you can see here, did act as support again. That's great. And, you could have maybe taken a trade and taken an entry off that $26 bounce and then traded it back up to VWAP, which, we got that test here later towards the end of lunch session. But that's not what I was interested in doing. And another lesson to add to this recap is how important this level now becomes later in the day. This volume was pretty major. So with that pullback and that red candle, if we were to get up to this level again at 27.50 and retest it without volume like we saw this morning here to get through this level and a back test of a low volume pullback, this would have gotten me a year ago. I would have seen this thing get over VWAP, the VWAP trade line crossover, second time of the day. Not the strongest volume, but it's definitely interesting volume. And I probably would have gotten long and put a stop down at 26 and waiting for this breakout to happen, but we just never get the volume. I stop out at 26 or just below 26. In this case, I don't think we got quite below it, but I just wouldn't have felt good holding this into the after hours and into the session for tomorrow. And that would have gotten me, and that would have been a red trade. Or if you took a trade on this, like myself this morning, and then you wanted to get back in, again, I've done that many times in the past, where you think there's another opportunity to retrade this stock. You need the volume. The volume analysis is everything. The volume started to decline too much. We never got it back to come back in and really give us some momentum to the upside and get back up to that 28.50 level, the 28.25 level. And so just be wary of that. Even though it breaks through VWAP, that's a bull trap. That's what that is. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see if 26 shows its face again as support level. It may or it may not. Overall markets have been a little difficult to trade lately. They've been really affecting and impacting everything from small caps, mid caps, large caps. It's just been a mess all over the place. So just trade safe. Take the profit, take what the market gives you right now. If things switch back to a really kind of bullish sentiment overall from the macro level, we don't have that debt ceiling news hanging over our heads and various other negative news headlines, things can change, and there's, again, potential to make some more money where we'll have a little bit more follow through. But this was a one and done move, in my opinion today. 26 support is really important moving into tomorrow. So let's see what happens. If we just take a look at this thing from a after hours. Let's take a look at the after hours session really quick. 26 is a level. So we tested this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. If you count those first 3 candles, 8 times. So, really important level. Let's see what happens tomorrow. If you guys have found this this trade recap helpful and you've learned something from that, throw me a like so I know that what I'm doing is helping you guys. And if you want to see some more, give me a follow. I will try and post a trade from the same trading day every day. I don't always have time to do it, but I'll try and squeeze it in when I can. And I hope you guys found this helpful and stick around for the next one. I hope you guys have a great evening, whatever time it is for you. It's almost bedtime for me. and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, guys.